Raj, I do have something interesting to share with you. You know what? Now it's, I guess, 6 years. Kiddicode is around 6 years, okay? And we have around
Hmm.
5,400 plus students at Kiddicode.
Right.
Different ages, different genders, different nationalities, cultures, different families, different schools, and also special kids. So, but to have this 5,400 plus, we went through more than this. We went through like 15, 16,000 kids. And before that, when we were working for some kind of different organizations, altogether, I can tell you that in the last 5 years, I have been engaged technically with 20,000 kids. And that's a very, very interesting experience. That means I never felt became 20,000. It became
Hmm.
like that. But
Right.
there are a lot of things, a lot of interesting things and experience and knowledge I gained from this fantastic part of my life. But one very interesting thing, which is, I guess, relevant to what we're going to talk about it today, is it's really interesting to tell you that, the many parents, they have concern about playing games and that kind of stuff. But when I look at the kindergarten students, those students that they used to play computer games, especially games like Minecraft, that you
Hmm.
are in charge of building and constructing some things, and a lot of strategical decision and mathematical calculation. They show significantly better performance in the first 6 months when they join to the code, in compared with the students that they are not allowed to play games.
So does that mean we should get more kids to play more video games if we want them to be smarter?
One way of looking to this, yes, I think even there is another research that happened in the US that says that this gamers, or gamers especially, playing game, not any kind of game. There are some certain kind of games, especially like we're going to talk about some of them today. That, like, I believe in Minecraft is a game, is a learning, is a gaming based system, environment learning system. But anyway, there's a research shows that gamers, children that play game within this kind of games, they could get 1 point extra in their GPA, especially game in favor of education plus gamified education system. These two are two different matters, but that's a really interesting outcome. So
So
yes.
imagine if we could combine these elements of games with education. Imagine what could happen then, right, Uncle Code?
Exactly, and that's what we're going to talk about it today. We call it
That's
gamification in education system.
exactly. Let's go.
Let's go for that. Hello, you beautiful people. This is Uncle Code and Raj, and another episode of Uncle Talk about gamification in learning system and education.
That's right. So last week we talked about gamification theory, and if you guys haven't checked out that episode yet, be sure to check it out in the comment section below, or you can click this card here on YouTube as well. Now, Uncle Code. So we have talked about gamification theory, and today we are talking about gamification in education. I want to share an experience with you that I went through when I
Okay,
was 11 years old, right?
okay, talk
And
about
I
it.
want to get your thoughts about it. Now, when I was 11, which is not too long ago, I would like to believe,
Few days.
I re- I really despised mathematics. And I know this is not the smartest thing to say to a computer scientist, right? It wasn't the smartest thing to say to my father, who was a maths graduate in university, right? But I really could not understand why there were so many numbers, and then you put alphabets in the numbers. It was really very perplexing for me. And when my dad used to teach me maths, it was a very frustrating experience for me because he's like, this is so simple. Why can't you understand? And
Mhm.
eventually he gave up and he told my mom to take over. Now, what I know, typical, right? It's a very typical dynamic in the relationship. As the
I'm
dad can't
tired
do
of you. What's the problem?
it, just ask mommy to take over.
Right, take care of this child.
And now, what my mom did was really interesting. She
Oh.
said, okay, Raj, every time you finish one chapter in your mathematics book, I'm going
Mhm.
to give you a bar of chocolate. And if you finish the entire book, I'm going to buy you a new video game that you like. And from that day onwards, Uncle Code, I was just on a roll finishing book after book after book after book. Now, my question is, number one, why was this so effective? And number two, would you consider this gamification in education by any chance?
Okay. So I'm just a little bit worried about your teeth. What's happened to those chocolates? That
So far, it's good. My dentist
yeah,
said it's all right so
looks
far.
good. Your teeth looks good and healthy. So I think your mom choose proper chocolates. You know what? Okay, I want to little talk about the example that you told me. This is called sort of a behavioral or behaviorism. Because you know what, we heard about positive reinforcement and negative reinforcement. You know that if you have a pet, okay, I'm not saying you have been a pet, okay, by the way,
Right.
but it's very common because all of us are animal, by the way. So we know that if you have a pet, like for example, if you have a cat, you won't get anything if you, for example, punish them. Things get worse. It's really beautiful when I had my own first experience to adopt a cat. Then I figured out that if you want to punish them, things get really, really ugly. That means they start to fear from you, and they start to do some kind of activities out of the anxiety. They pee, for example, around the house. And actually, same thing happening to children. Many children, when they show the tantrum or they show the angers or they show some sort of a stuff, it's coming from the deep anxiety of some bad punishment came from parents or school or environment. It's very similar. So at some certain level, there are fantastic similarities. When you want to train your cat to some activities, you have to give them treatments, and then try to click treatment with the task that they do, and the pleasure come to them, which is connected to one of the things we're going to talk about it. That pleasure cycle will train them and treat them in a way that okay, they know what they have to do. Maybe something similar happened to you as well, but
Mhm.
the question that I have is this: what if the source of chocolate is stopped? Are you going to continue the mathematic, or you still needed that chocolate?
That's a fantastic question, Uncle Code, and thankfully I never had to go through that. But I guess as we mature and we grow older, at least for me, I start to realize the value that mathematics has in my life. It has transcended being something that I do just to pass grades in school. And I've seen like, okay, here, this is how maths is actually going to help me in my life. And once I see that value, I
Okay,
guess that reward of a chocolate does not apply anymore.
okay, beautiful. So at some point that you don't, maybe you can't remember when was it, that you reach to a kind of
Yeah.
awareness about why mathematics is important. That means you from passive obedience grow and mature to an active driver rather than just an observer. So it's a kind of interesting things happen in your mind. It's sort of maturity when we can understand this is good for us. This is important. You know what? When your mommy gave you the chocolate, it's
Mhm.
explicit, okay, explicit reinforcement or extrinsic reinforcement, a better term to say. The goal of such a kind of approach in a proper way is, can I convert this to intrinsic reinforcement? It means that I stop the chocolate. You definitely like it still to get chocolate for different reasons from your mom, but when it comes to the mathematics, you understand this is nice. So I want to continue the math by myself. So
Right.
one approach to move extrinsic reinforcement to eventually intrinsic, which is the beautiful things that may happen, is one of them is this. Not only in the learning model everywhere, when you have users for a new app or a marketing campaign, you may use some extrinsic mechanism, but eventually you're gonna have loyal users that they love your app and they use the app intrinsically they want to do and contribute. So that's a kind of successful transformation. Back to education, this is something that I like to address, and we call it metacognitive or metacognition, which is a term, a very interesting term that says metacognition is an ability to be able to think about thinking,
Mhm.
knowing about knowing. Look at here that for years in a school, what we do, we inject education in a proper way to children mind. So that means we're training them that, hey, my students, you don't need to be worried about what is the next chapter. I am here, so I'm taking in charge and responsible for what is the next. So technically, this produce good students, but infant students. Because if I'm not there, what's the guarantee they can survive by themselves? The goal of education is giving this ability to people, metacognition, to get self awareness about themselves. I back your mathematical experience. At some point, you understood that the math is important, it's beautiful, it's nice. is like oxygen. You know, when a parent come to me and say that my child hates math, I don't believe in that. There's something wrong somewhere else. The way school taught the math was so ugly that the outcome is math is not beautiful. Math is like oxygen. If you can you come and tell me that I don't like the oxygen, I try to not consume it.
I mean,
Sometimes
someone could probably tell you that for a few minutes before they just stop talking. you know? Yeah. So
nobody knows about this. So,
yeah. So let's bring this back to the topic of education, right? You mentioned that parents have come up to you and said, like, my kids don't enjoy mathematics. I've been through that experience myself.
mhm,
So like, besides me getting my chocolate fix, why should we have this conversation? Why should we even gamify learning in education in the first place?
you know what? We haven't. Okay, let me back to the screen. Okay, so still, I guess we may. It's good to start to talk a little bit about we talk about the gamification. Okay, so we don't need to repeat those things again.
Yeah.
We know that gamification is a fantastic mechanism: dopamine, hormones, pleasure, achievement, all those kind of things, and to bring engagement to people or students. That's what we want. We want to see that the students engage in mathematics. So now, how we can bring that power of gamification in the school system to bring that sort of engagement? It means teaching becoming a kind of dopamine shock, produce dopamine,
Mm.
dopamine. So technically, we have to produce opportunities for challenge and achievement. So that's very important. If I come to the school system, if I come to your class and I teach you mathematics, hey guys, this is a score. A score has four sides. This is the calculation for the area, calculation for example, the perimeters, and that's also next week quiz. Done. Goodbye. So where is the challenge? You got all the things. Oh, you told us about the movie. Spoiler alert. Well, Kangan is saying, I want to know why a score created. I want to know how Archimedes found this formula. I want to know how Pythagoras, why he came up with this proof for the theorem of Pythagorean. I want you to put me in the historical position and I discover it by myself. Constructivism. So the reason that many students, they say, I hate math, but lesser students, they say, I hate chemistry or biology, is because at least in today's school system, biology, chemistry has a laboratory or a little bit of experience, challenge. I do some things and I see some things. But when it comes to the mathematics, I'm so out of it. Because I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm just going to read and put in a paper. And there are students that they like math because they're way of the mind. They like abstract stuff, but it's not because of the brilliant job of the mathematic teacher. It's because they want that way. But we have to come up with a laboratory for mathematics. We have to bring it sort of. This is just. I'm not talking about the math. I'm talking about the whole things. So there is my point here is this. Before we go through elements that we can apply from gamification to mathematics. Number one, metacognition is important. We have to raise people, children, or even adults, that they have self-awareness. That means soon they can take the control of their reinforcement and make it intrinsic, like what's happened to you in the mathematics. So at
Mhm.
beginning, we can use some mechanisms like chocolate or some other different, but gamification is much bigger than just a chocolate. Chocolate is a little things in gamification. There are more things that we can apply, and today we're going to talk about them. And then bring this to awareness. That means I can control my learning, I can engage, I can enjoy. If I don't enjoy, I can talk about it. If I don't really feel good, I try to understand what is it rather than say I hate math. No, math is important. Hey, you teacher, you have to change your teaching approach. For me, I'm 13 years old, but this required the maturity. This required some sort of mechanism. And yeah, I think that's what I can say in general. In general.
Right. Okay, so let's try to clear the air a little bit, because I feel that the one misconception or the one thing that people find hard to understand is what is the difference between game-based learning and gamification.
Very good.
How would you distinguish those two things, Uncle Good?
Very interesting. Very interesting. You know what? For example, look at the Minecraft. Okay, Minecraft. There are. If you go to the Minecraft website, there are really fantastic Minecraft world created to teach chemistry. Very interesting. You go there. There are all the elements. You can combine elements and build a new materials. And you can build water. You can build air by mixing molecules. So there's a kind of virtual environment that you can utilize it to play around and then learn more. Or there's another kind of Minecraft world that you can build the computers within the Minecraft. It's really interesting. You can build the computers that can do process, little process within the Minecraft, because it's a very dynamic and active environment. It's really beautiful. So these are called kind of a game-based learning. That means you're playing a commercialized game or a kind of game or open source game, but within playing the games, you utilize some learning concepts and try to practice. So this is just like a practicing and reviewing. But when we say gamification learning, it doesn't mean that we are talking about playing a game. No, we can bring those gamification concepts in non-gaming environment in education. It can be like what your mom did. It can be a normal classroom without any digital devices, and a teacher apply those techniques and tips to engage students. So this is very important. We're not talking about computer games. This is about gamification, what we learned from game designer to make their games really engaging, and I bring it to my class. So if I'm living in a small city, there's no excuse for that. If I don't have proper internet, there's no excuse. If there's no computer in my classroom, actually gamification has been around for 1,000 years. And the story of the gamification is interesting. So that's what I'm trying to talk about it. Learn gamification tips and techniques to bring it to your parenting or to your school class. But of course, in today's modern world, we like technology. There are a lot of online tools, page, and the iPad and computers and web and browsers. That's not nothing wrong with that. So this is what I'm trying to distinguish.
Right. So let's talk about action steps, or little tips and tricks that people listening to this talk show can sort of steal for their classrooms or for their kids. What are some gamification mechanics that we could try or we could experiment with? Maybe if my mom is listening to this talk show, mommy, we can try this out, with
Yeah, we can
mathematics
try.
or any other subject in the future.
I need chocolate. Say the word.
Yeah.
Okay. Raj Mami still needs that chocolate. And you know what? Okay, to just don't think that this gamification is a kind of a rocket science thing. No, it's not like that. Like the chocolate that your mom used is something naturally. That means we give a reward. But the point is, we can't just continue by giving chocolate. We have to be a little bit creative to have variety of reward in different ways, and each one target different goal in growing up people. For example, if I want to increase your teamwork ability, I can't just give you chocolate for everything. Okay, I give you chocolate, go and say hello to your friend. It's not going to work like that. Okay, or if I want to work in your communication skills, again, I can't use chocolate for everything, because actually if I do the same thing, chocolate will be the standard. So then
Yes.
you need something else, right?
Mhm.
So it works like a drug technically, because it's back to the dopamine. So we have to know that for this one, there is an image, there is a kind of a taxonomy of the gamification that I found it, and then we can go through it. I think that would be very good. Okay, so this is
Ooh.
really interesting. So look at this gamification taxonomy. This is really interesting. And you look at there are 5 perspectives in education of students that we're really looking forward for that. One is the performance, the purple color, and then is ecological, which is really important. And you will see that how you and your environment. So not only you. The social means your improvement connected and twisted with other people. And personal is your personal improvement, deep inside. How much you feel you did something, for example, great, or you're good, or you're satisfied of yourself. And the other one is actually the functional part, which shows the way that you engage and pick up the function and actions and apply to your education or anything else that you're going to do. I'm going to go through them as much as we can talk today, and then see that. So this fictional part, performance, ecological, social, personal, it's very important. I want to add one more thing to this fictional part, that we know science fiction is nice. You see that we like those movies that bring in those fiction. Fiction means a story. There is a kind of narrative road within the movie and the games. So these are important things that we can bring it to the gamification and education. So these 5 things, Raj, is not only for education. It can be for a marketing campaign, right? It can be
Yeah.
for a movie, for a movie.
Yeah.
So let us start from performance. I think performance is the most important part. Performance talks about those things that children or students they need to follow. Looks like a deeper sticks to know that if you are working better or not, if you improved or not. Because one of the things that we need in metacognition is to teach children how to make sure of your progress. We want to make sure that the 9 years old knows that if my math is improving or not. That's
Mhm.
one of the things missing in the school system. But surprisingly, children are well familiar when they play games by themselves. They know all the techniques. They look at the leaderboards. They know that, "Oh, I have to work with this gun or these troops or these abilities, and I have to do this and that without any course that someone else give it to them." It's really interesting. It means gamification, it can implicitly can drive you to think of your points, your, for example, level, or for example your status or your ranking. So these are the things that really important. So you know that, oh, my points is not good, is not improving, so you start to think about it. One of the problem with the traditional education system is the only thing that I have is exam marks, that's all.
Mm.
And it's too much expectation. We think children are all super genius and smart that they can control, and they back home by themselves they create gamification. Nobody has done this, come on. So we, we need a system, we need the tools. So you can look at this progression. The progress is very important. So in progress tell you how many percentage, for example, you see when you are participating in a game or a kind of learning system. Typically there are some sort of ways to show you how many percentage you have down, how many more percentage that you have to go. So show the progress. So you understand, oh, I change. If today you're 30% and tomorrow you're 30 and next week you're 30, you understand something is wrong. Level is very important. While you're collecting points, which is the number three here, but you can see you are improving. My level was, for example, normal. Now I became hero. Now I became geek. So you can feel it change. You can change. You know, these are the things that you feel the change every day, not just end of the exams, end of the semester. Points for every single task that you do, you collect points. Points typically is one of the smallest gamification mechanics. Stats and are those kind of reports and diagrams that give you some statistical report about your performance. That means, for example, I compare you in the scoreboard with other students, or you have a clan working with other clans, especially in the team building activities. So that's again another way that we can think about it. And trophies are amazing. Or which it's a sort of acknowledgement for achievements that you've done it. For example, badge and trophies, they work sometime together. For example, we tell the students that if you can finish 100 mathematical tasks in 3 days, you're going to get this trophy. Wow. So
Mm.
progress. And we see this in successful app like Duolingo. But literally, we don't have any of this stuff in our school system. Never ever. We had more punishment or just a good. Some schools, you when you were a little child, you remember teacher come and put a stamp on your paper.
Yeah, on the hand, yeah.
You know, that is a kind of badge. It's a little gamification, but unfortunately, it stop at that level.
Mm.
Anyway, because now technology give us more ability to do that. So let's stop here. Ask me any question about performance.
Okay, so if we had to go back into my past, right, and
Uh-huh.
apply this performance gamification mechanic to someone learning mathematics, for example, would you say that using performance in this context is accurate? Every time I finish a book, a mathematics book,
Mhm.
I will get a new pencil case that upgrades in size, in functions,
Mhm.
in different styles, right? Would you consider that as one method of using performance in gamification, in education?
So if you want to pick up something to show the performance, you have to remember that it shouldn't be in the way to finish very soon. Is it
Mm.
scalable? Because we expect you to years to continue, right? Point is very good. You can get 1 million points, 2 million XP, 3 million XP. So, and even levels are important. Typically, if I have 10 levels, it shouldn't be easy that you reach to the level 10 and
Right.
then what I'm going to do with you. So it can be considered if has that capability to be extended and expanded. But the very important thing that it should be increased, incremental. You should feel that you are changing, you're improving, or it should be able to stop some sort of the performance metrics. They can go down as well. For example, I'm not that much fan of them. I'm fan of always increasing, but a slow or fast pace. But there are also parameters like that.
Right. So, to any parents or teachers that might be listening to this show right now, in terms of implementing very quickly, in terms of implementing this performance-based gamification technique, right? Is there anything that they can do in their classrooms or at home to implement this?
First of all, now these days, if they search, there are a bunch of really good tools that help teachers to use some of them to apply to their students. For example, there are some apps for creating their quizzes and let children to do that, and then he can also, they can monitor, there's a dashboard. We can talk about these tools. I guess is really really important. We have a kind of session, we just go through tools for performance, for ecological, for social, for all these kind of things. And if they don't want to use if but not only tools, they can apply it in their own life. For example, let's say they can create a kind of Google sheet, and let's say if they have 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 students, not too many, and then they can create a kind of Google spreadsheet. One sheet can be the points, for example, another
Mm.
sheet can be their levels, and they can apply a little bit of calculation in Google spreadsheet to do little gamification for their class, and they can share it with the students, or they can talk about it, or they can use Google Classroom to send some notifications to students in WhatsApp. For example, if I have 20 students and I have time, so I can do that. I can tell them this and that. But again, using tools better. There are nice tools for doing this to apply. So I don't want to suggest, but if there is a case you don't have computer, you can apply a small pointing system. You can call levels, and then in your classroom, and even engage children into that one. So how many points do you have? How many points? Suddenly, environment will be very different. But not too much talk about the points, like a too much chocolate, and then there's a chance that you never feel that mathematics is important. This is another thing to talk about it.
Right.
So let's go for the second part.
Let's go for it.
Okay. I want to go to ecological, which is you and the environment that you engage with it. One of the nice things that I see in games, especially games, strategical games with the gamification, coin and redeem, they are teaching you economy. We call it economy of the gamification. So game designers, they spend time, even they hire good economists to come and build the economy, because it's the economy. If game producing too much coin, inflation will happen, because everybody has a lot of coins. So coins, virtual goods, and all the assets are really important. So when people engage in consumption of their coin or their assets, technically children, they learn financial management. If we give this ability to children that you collect your points, for example, every 100 XP experience point, you're going to get one coin. And then after, let's say if you have 1,000 XP, you have 10 coins, and then you can redeem your coins to buy some stuffs from a virtual store. And virtual store, what it has Einstein sticker, for example,
Mm.
has, for example, or has, for example, Ronaldo a sticker that doing chemistry, for example. So whatever is their heroes mixed with science and what they like actually. So we have the background, because one of the nice things in the online system is now we know what child likes in a real life. Maybe he or she likes singers or maybe actors. So we use those things in their environment. That means when you log into your system, if you're too much into Justin Bieber, so it's okay. Then your
Yeah.
environment looks like Justin Bieber colors and their pictures, and you do your math on that environment, and you feel really good. Okay?
Yeah, we can
Or
have a chocolate doing chemistry as well.
yes, you see chocolate shop.
Yeah.
We don't have limits in a virtual world in the same way that we have in, I can bring you to chocolate shop and teach you mathematics. Probably if I'm going to do that, you already was a great mathematician of the world. But the point is, but the virtual world is possible. There are a few things here that you can see. That you see that the economy. The other one is before that is the rarity, rare rewards. I'm pretty sure that people play game, they know that how good is rare reward that they are rare, and there's only 10 of them. And if children, they can get, for example, 100,000 points, they get one of those rare items. So then I know that I have to a lot of things in mathematics, in biology, chemistry. Even I'm gonna get motivated that if I know my math is weak, because in a smart education system we can detect a student weakness and then give more points for those topics. So without asking child, he she knows that, let me go to trigonometry that I hate it, but there is more points. Economy. Do you understand that? So you go do more trigonometry, and because it's your weakness, you don't like it, but the system understand that when I give you more chocolate, more points to reach that rare items. So rare items are important. And impose choices. One of the very, very important things missed from a school system, decision making. That means we never ask the children, do you like to learn this topic or not? If you have a trigonometry, how you want to make a decision to apply to this topic or biology or chemistry and these kind of things. In a gamified system, we have a lot of choices. Today, and choices designed by system, designed a proper way. And also the element of the chance. One of the things we like in a game is chance, probability, real life. I'm 4 years old. I can experience real life. Real life is just like probability. I have to try best. May happen, may not happen. That little element of the gambling will be there. So, for example, one of the interesting things we can have in a gamified system is, for let's say, Raj, you are so close to reach to kind of 10,000 points, and if you reach the
Mhm.
10,000 point, we call you moderator. Then you can manage some other students. But there is a time limit for that. If you lose a time limit, you have to wait for another month, by purpose.
Mhm.
Okay. But then you have to do, okay, so what should I do? There is a time pressure. Time pressure. It's good. A little bit of that dopamine. So now I have to figure out what is the biggest weakness, because if I apply that one in that system, give me more points. If I do, what is the chance of the winning? What if I pick up that one? This is what I want children to understand, because this is the translation of this in a real life. What are my weaknesses? How can I manage them? How can I manage my life anxiety? How can I manage my life happiness? This is metacognition. So easily come from ecological elements. Question.
What's a quick way we can implement ecological elements in a classroom or at home? Something easy.
Okay. If again, so I don't repeat it, that it's good that we use tools, online tools for all this kind of stuff, which because the experience is totally different. When it comes to parenting, of course, this is a kind of way to utilize time, pressure, and chance. For example, let's say that if I tell you that if you do all these kind of things that I tell you by end of the week, then there are some metrics that I have to measure. If I feel that you have done good enough, then I may give you this prize or bigger prize. This is all relevant to how you're going to do it, my child, for example. So then your child is in a kind of process of thinking and deciding and making decision. Why? Because he or she want to maximize. So having multiple options, multiple rewards is good. And if one time child lose the best option, and he or she is waiting for the next round, next challenge to try it again. So that's how we do it. For example, when you play football, you lost, and next time lost and win again, next win next. So that's what we need in system. So school teachers and parents, they can bring this concept a little bit in the classroom. Or for example, they can tell them that, hey, today is the first day of the school. My beautiful students, I do have, let's say, of course, it's very relevant to resources in this, teachers or schools or whatever. For example, let's say there are some tickets for some place that children they really love to go. For example, let's say tickets or something that really good. And he says that I have 5 tickets that I want to give it this year to 5 students, and I don't know when I'm going to give it. So it's very, very important based on your performance. He or she defines some milestone that whenever happen, you can get one of the ticket. So if the first student get the ticket, all the students, there's four left. So do that. It's very important. First, we do not exaggerate, because if we exaggerate, we are just playing games. We forget the main important things. So this is very important that one of if you don't apply gamification, it will come with some damages. So it's very important you nicely mix these things together. And also, I like some school teachers, I have seen it, that they created some kind of virtual coin that you collect these coins, and then eventually you can redeem it. For example, you can redeem to get some. They talk with parents. Okay, they tell the parent that, okay, I'm teachers, dear parents, if your child do very well, I give them virtual coins. Each coins, if you agree, with your help, let's redeem it to 5 ringgit. You do? Are you okay, parent? Are you do this for your kid? And parent says, okay, I will do that, because parent also believes that concepts. And child has a wallet, like a digital wallet. So how many coins you have in your wallet? I have 100. How much does it worth? 1,500 ringgit. What are you gonna do with
Ooh,
that? I'm gonna buy a PS5. Okay,
that's right.
okay. So this is some ideas that we can bring. So let's go for the next one.
Let's do it.
uh, Social. I love this part. I really love, because the goal is bring the social interaction. We have a social side while we have a natural side. These two part of human are important, but unfortunately we forget about the natural part these days. We're too much apartments and digital devices. Looks like we think we and animals are two different things. So you can see that there are a few things. Let's go through some of them. One of the things that I really like is collaboration and cooperative environment is much, much better than the competitive environment. But competition is important. Healthy competition is important. That means it's not like a kind of stress, anxiety. Typically in traditional school, The only way we can engage with society mostly is in form of competition. That means there is an exam, there is one person will be the best. So there's a huge competition. We don't see that much of opportunity to be best, to be good students, not best, 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 best. So that's why I like cooperative and collaboration next to competition. For example, one of the things that we're going to do, that we can build team work or team projects, and then those that they really actively work and support and producing rule and positions and supporting, then they're going to get recognized. For example, there is a way that like XP we can create some sort of point that sometimes we call it karma. It's a point that will be given to you when you contribute. Let's say any students ask questions will get one karma point. Any student answer the question will get two karma points. Any student answer the questions, if as a teacher I choose the answer as the best answer, will get 10 karma points, will get one coin, will get 10 XP. Let's see what you guys are going to do that. And I will do it once in a week or twice in a week. So in this way, students start to ask questions and answer each body questions and try to find, for example, if you ask a question and try to search over the internet to find the good answers, and I convince you, and then you say, yes, teacher, I got the answers. Who gave you the answers? The other students. Let me know what is the answers. Good answers. You got it. So this environment has been tested in many kind of environment, like a Stack Overflow, one of the biggest environment between programmers that already purchased by 1.8 billion US dollars by a famous European venture capitalist, which is the biggest community that programmers, they raise questions, not programmers now in the math, in the physics, in philosophy, in art. You raise the questions, many people come and answers, like Quora, but much bigger and extensive than the Quora. So one is this collaboration. Competition definitely is one of the traditional approach in gamification, that we give trophies. There's a leaderboard. Leaderboard is the best way to bring up the nice competition, because I can look at my position through one of the perspective, and a multi-dimensional leaderboard, which is very important. And also, it's very important that we train our children to avoid social stress. Social stress and social pressure can be handled in much, much better when in the gamified system. Because in gamified system, one of the very important things we try to do to keep creating the opportunity to be recognized. So it's not like if you lose one, you really lose, finish. It's not like if you lost a university entrance examination, how many more times are you going to do that? Now, always there is a chance to challenge yourself. Always there's a chance to challenge. So these social challenges are really, really important. And finally, reputation. We love reputation. So we ask the students to build a clan, like the Clash of Clan, but in a
Mhm.
team. So for example, we are math geeks of this classroom. So we go with a war with the other math classrooms, and there is a battle, and then we do that, and then wow, we won, and all these game elements sometimes come to the game, and then we get a reputation in the school. Tomorrow, when we go, all the boys and girls look at us. You see in some sort of cliche movies that there are some famous students in the class in the school, but now within this gamified, the number of famous boys and girls will be more than before, and more intellectually actually. So, question.
Now, with the pandemic going on right now, Uncle Code, how can we implement this social gamification mechanic? The fact that we can't be in the same space with other students.
So, do you know? Okay, I have a question before I answer this one. Do you have any doubt about the huge social network called Facebook?
Oh, not at all. I'm a big fan of it.
Do you, okay? So is it like when we moved to Instagram, we couldn't build a big social networks, but in a virtual world? Was it like that?
No, I guess not. It is possible.
We could build YouTube. Who built the YouTube? A company or people? People, right?
Mhm.
YouTube is YouTube because people producing content and people watch it. Uber became a successful concept in the world because people engaged. Airbnb became a successful concept because people engaged. Wikipedia became a valid reference because people engaged. Facebook became Facebook because really people created an account and share and do all the kind of thing. I'm not talking about the pros and cons. Everything has pros and cons. I'm talking about the possibility of being socialized but in a virtual world. Okay, and people also they talk about their concern. I'm being too much in Facebook. So let me today go out. Okay, that's good. That's good. That's a way of health. It's okay, but we don't have any kind of failure to say that moving to the online community we couldn't build socialize, because this is a human. We are evolving. We were archaic human. We're living in a small tribe, and our socialization was different than when we became agriculture, when we jumped to industrial revolution, when the science revolution 500 years ago started, and when the media and IT started. There is no any kind of doubt that when we move to online education, why not same thing happen again? While now children, they are building huge network in the Minecraft, huge network in Twitch, huge network in the Roblox, huge network in other games by themselves, communicating, chatting, and all kind of things. There are some, again, pros and cons for everything else, but the feasibility of building a proper platform for children and make them socialize is still is there, and the concept of being socialized is changing. So that's another talk. That means it's not anymore just physical ability. People can be shy in the physical world, but very active in the online world. So it was the physical world issue called them introvert. So I definitely don't have doubt about it. But using these elements, question answering, supporting, like, research, share, these are the things that in an online system can be done. So personal is the part that we focus on, the deep insight, inside the part that we wanted out of any education system, to let us to really be, raise, satisfy, and improve a little. For example, one of the things that we do is ability of feeling novelty. Novelty is one of the very important things in gamification. When, for example, you play a game or you finish a level, the way you finish the level, you can get 1 star or 2 stars or 3 stars. I think this is something interesting. It means it's not only about winning, it's about the quality of the winning. So that's novelty. Or, for example, renovation or innovation. This ability that led you to restructure your environment again and again. For example, if you play a game, you have this ability to rebuild a game. And this is really nice because when I'm learning, many times I feel that, oh, my learning is not good at all. Let's me restructure it again and then build it again. So you keep engaging to processing what you got it. And that's a very, very critical thing. Or puzzles, quizzes, interesting ways. For example, giving dynamic quizzes to different students. There are a lot of interesting apps, Quiz Up, for example. People, they go, I want to challenge your knowledge about Lord of the Ring with myself. Let's go and have a quiz. It's a very interesting environment. And now many teachers, Raj, they're using Quiz Up or Quizlet. They create their quiz and ask the students to download the app and they use it. So it's gamified, the points, the answers, real times. It's really nice. The battle. 5 questions in math from me and same questions let's ask from Raj. Let's see who's going to be the winner. That's kind of interesting stuff. But these are the things that personally happening. So you can challenge yourself. You can sit and no need another person. Maybe I don't want to go in the battle with other people. I want to just sit down and personally work on myself. This is increasing sensation. This is increasing your awareness about the knowledge that you have. And fictional is very important topic. You know what? Successful games, successful TV shows, successful movies, definitely they have a good storyline. Definitely.
Yeah.
You are not playing the game. You are in the story. You go to a story, nice story. And those beautiful teachers that they could be nice storyteller, you always want to repeat their class again and again and again. Imagine if you have a nice history teacher that teach you a story in beautiful way that you close your eyes in a class, you feel that you are really in the stage, you're watching those people. That's so different. If a person can bring such ability, so a story important. Gamification let us know that if you want to teach math teachers, biology teachers, or parent, build a story. Think about a story. So try to come up with a story. For example, hey guys, today I want to tell you that every one of you are going to act like a person. We call it our Pythagoras. Let's imagine you are in such a world, and by next month you are going to reach to this point. So let's try together. So today you have this challenge. What are you going to do for that? Go and write about it and think about it. So you put them in a kind of a story, but to resolve the steps, they have to use that mathematical concept. The story is very important, and now online systems they really think about this. And the narrative way actually that means there is a point, and from here you go here and go there. So these are two other interesting elements that gamification can apply to anything, including the education system.
I'm going to redirect your question, Uncle Go, to the people tuning in into the talk show right now. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions about the gamification taxonomy, let us know in the comment section below. Uncle Go, we're going to take a quick break before we
Perfect.
come back
Very good.
for part two
100%.
of gamification in education. We'll be right back in the next part.
See you soon.